Hello, and welcome to my channel, The Sum of It. So I don't want to waste a lot of time. I'm just going to jump right into the topic today because there are a lot of things that I want to talk about and I want to discuss, but I want to try and get it out in a short period of time because your girl got to go get these little nails done. Get into it, baby. They are so little but so cute, and I'm just at that place now where I just want them short. So yeah, no explanation. I just want them short. But anyway, let's get into it. So today's topic is the hidden cost of going unhealed. The hidden cost of going unhealed. So let's just talk about why most often we crumble and we fall in places that we can't seem to understand. How did I get here? How did this happen? How is it that I did not see this coming? Because we are not renewing our minds daily. If we were to renew our minds daily, because our mindset is the head of every part of our body, everything else is connected to the head, right? And so we have to take care of the mind. And in the mind, there are so many memories that are kept there. And so when we renew our mind, we renew our foundation that we stand on to do life. So how do we accelerate? How do we develop when we don't provide a foundation to build upon, right? And we understand that a foundation is built off of wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Understanding that when we're building a foundation, baby, there are some things that has to be removed. There are some things that has to be uncovered. There are some things that has to be learned. And there are also some things that has to be unlearned. Why? Because whatever worked for us in the past, whatever foundation we built previously, it may not work for you in this season. And so leaving that old plan behind and creating something different would definitely bring you to a different degree and a different level of accelerating. Because if we keep trying to do the same thing in every season, it is going to ruin us. It's going to damage what we are trying to accomplish, right? You can't use your old skills, your old mind skill. And I'm not saying not just throw away your skill set. That is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is even in that, something that you have an innate ability to do, it still has to be upgraded. There has to be an upgrade, a different form of maintenance. Because, baby, I come from an era where we had beepers and these large cell phones, and now look at the phones that we have touchscreen phones and things of that nature. So there has the same thing, but it's just an upgrade. We just had to move some things around. You had to change some things around, and the same thing applies to your mind. So let's get into it. When we talk about healing, if there was a physical injury, let's just say you tore in a ligament, ACL, MCL, whatever the case may be, because it's visible, you are going to go to the doctor. You're going to get the doctor's advice, right? He may refer you to a physical therapy. So now you're going through therapy, right? And they may give you instructions on how to care for yourself at home. Don't do too much. They'll give you light exercises. Whatever the case may be, you are going to do whatever you are told to do to make sure that your ligaments heal properly. And so I think what the problem is, things that are seen are so easy for us to give our attention to and take care of those injuries. But our emotions, there are festering wounds. There's so much hurt and pain that's hiding behind us in the cracks and the crevices of our heart and our spirit, and it literally spills over whenever we speak, right? And it really just tears us down internally. So as much as we take care of our body, our temple, outwardly, we have to do the exact same thing inwardly. And because it's not something physical, it's intangible, it's abstract, we continue to go on and do life with no foundation, and we find ourselves falling over and over again. We find ourselves in the same cycles. We find ourselves in the same rut over and over again. And it is costing us tremendously, right? It's costing us mentally. We are disappointed more than often. We're unhappy more than often. And sometimes we just got to sit ourselves down and we got to give ourselves a pep talk, baby. Why am I so emotional? Why am I unhappy? Why am I so frustrated? Why is it that everything seems to trigger me? there has to be some sense of discipline. And so, what are you standing on? What foundation are you building for yourself in this season? What injury are you carrying around that has not been taken care of? Just as much as you take care of a physical injury, you too have to take care of your emotional injuries, your if spiritual, if there's not a spiritual connection, but yet you're praying and you're trying to hear from God. But how often are you spending time with God? How do you prioritize God in your life? You're praying a fly-by prayer, and that's all you have to give him, but you're not giving him any of your time where you will worship God. Just spending some intimate time as you would with your kids, as you will with your spouse, as you will with your family and friends. We laugh, we talk. Do you have that type of relationship with God, where you tell God, I admire you. I'm so grateful, that you protected me and my family throughout the night. I'm so glad that this morning I still have the use of all of my limbs. I have a sane mind, even the things that we seem to take for granted, because if you get up and go to work, you're in your mind, you're like, I'm providing this. But God gives to us the ability to do so. Think about it. How the Bible tells us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. When I think of that, I've heard this scripture passage so many times, but now the place that I am in, because of the years of development and just my growth, and the relationship, that the connection that I have with God now, it helps me to see that verse and that scripture passage in such a different light. When it says you are fearfully and wonderfully made, I can't even imagine how God, he created us. It's like a intricately process, right? We're complex. Can you imagine how many parts of the brain that God had to create for it to work properly? Even when I was in school, we would have these tests where you would have to name different parts. Baby, I memorized that. And I cannot tell you any of those things now. But now I'm interested in knowing me. How can I care for this temple if I'm not familiar with what God created? I may not know everything that he has done from beginning to end, but what I do know, it makes me fall in love with him. It makes me honor him, because if you don't know the details of how he created you and how one part of your body is connected to the next part and it all works together as a whole, that's the exact same thing that he placed inside of you, which is purpose. Purpose is something that has to work for the common good of others, and it works together as a whole. So collectively, when we come together, can you imagine the power? Can you imagine the intellect? Can you imagine the beauty that will come from that as a result? But how can we connect when we're not taking care of ourselves? It is a massive mess. And when you're not taking accountability to be everything that God called you to be. Because if God still has given you a sane mind, God is still giving you the use of your hands, then we should use that. But when we come together collectively as a whole, it's something to celebrate. It's something that's just like coming to church. A lot of people, I hear people saying now, because of what people do, this is why I don't go to church now. This is why I don't do this. This is why I don't do that. And I agree. There are some things that may go on in the church that are not so traditional. Why? Because we live in a more modernized time. Things has changed. However, I still believe that the church community is needed. Why? Because that's the place where we go and celebrate and just show admiration unto God. That's a place where we go and feel free and we begin to worship God. We hear the word of God. Why? Because that too is a part of building your foundation. That too is a part of you getting healed and pointing out some things in you that you didn't even know exist, right? And so there's an inner child inside of all of us, whether good or bad. We have different scenarios that has happened throughout our lives, or some traditional myths that we still follow, that we learned, from our parents, or our parents learned from their parents learned from their parents, and it just became a generational thing. Again, when you are building a solid foundation, there's some things, baby, you just gotta unlearn, and it doesn't have to be any arguments. That doesn't have to be trying to prove anything. When you know better, you just do better. This is how we break those challenges that we are faced with, seeing that we don't pass those same myths, we don't pass those same traditions on to our children. Because when we are in a different time, and people before us, now don't get it wrong, they have labored, and these people have gone before us, and they paved the way for us to the best of their ability, and we have no idea the pain that they've gone through, how they've sacrificed so much that we can have what we have. And I'm getting so emotional talking about this, because we have to give credit where credit is due. However, the times that we live in now, we can take that freedom that we have, but apply it to the modernized times that we live in now, but still show admiration and gratefulness to the people that has gone before us, to say they didn't know everything there was, but to the best of their ability, they paved the way for us. And some things I've got to take it, and I've got to live by it, and some things I got to leave it where it is. And let's get into it. Some of these small things, such as telling your children what goes on in this home, stay in this home. I get it. There are some things that are private, and if they are not damaging to your children or your household or yourself, then personal business does stay in the house. But when they are detrimental to your children, and it is detrimental to you, it is damaging to you, and you don't talk about it, and the only way you handle that situation is by putting a blanket over it and covering it up, there lies festering wounds that's going unhealed. Yet your child is going on through life. They may be the most incredible, the most remarkable individual, achieving goals like there is no tomorrow. Successful like there is no tomorrow, but wounded. And no one has any idea the tragedy and the trauma that they are dealing with mentally, because no one sees the festering wounds. No one sees it. When you don't take care of those wounds, that pain and that damage that has been caused, what happens is it's almost equivalent to holding on to a cactus. Can you imagine holding on to the spines of a cactus? It is painful. And all people see is your achievements. All people see is your assignment that you're on. All people see is how gifted you are. All people see is how anointed you are. But nobody knows the pain that's on the inside of you that has gone unhealed. That disposition is tearing you down internally. That disposition can cause you illnesses. It can cause you to die a premature death. And I declare that I have a life of longevity, because I'm sitting before you, because there are some things that I had to break off for my children. And you don't have to demean the people that has gone before us. You just get before God and you do the hard work. If that is going to speak with a counselor, if that is going to speak with a therapist, or your minister, your pastor, or getting into a community or a group, a social group that has dealt with some of the things that you are dealing with, so that you don't feel ostracized and you don't feel like you have a voice because no one understands what you have gone through. There is somebody in this world that has gone through the same thing that you have gone through, if not similar. And it is time to lay your shame and your guilt to the side and deal with those unhealed wounds, because it is costing you. It is costing you because it is keeping you from knowing what your hidden vocations are. It's keeping you from knowing what your life purpose is. Why? Because you're so full of emotions that has you so aggravated and frustrated that people pay more attention to those things about you, those attributes, more so than they do the gift, more so than they do. Some people say, I don't want to be bothered with them. Although they can see that there's something special to you. They can see the potential. They can see the capacity of what you can do and what you can achieve. But because of all this hurt that is going unhealed, nobody wants to deal with you. and that thing is robbing you of happiness. That thing is robbing you of pure love. That thing is robbing you of hidden vocations. That thing is robbing you of being healthy outwardly and inwardly. That thing is robbing you of your mindset. This is what God has given to us, that's fearfully and wonderfully made. The tapestry of all those small parts that God has just connected that work together as a whole. We are responsible for taking care of those wounded parts of ourselves. We are responsible for taking care of ourselves altogether, right? And so as much as you tend to the things that are physical, don't forget about your emotional mindset. Don't forget about your mental stability. Don't forget about your wounded heart. That's the part of our character is so important. If it was not important, God would not have told us that I made you in my image. And when he says he made us in his image, it's just a reflection. He means it's a reflection of who I am. God is not easily moved. He's not easily bothered. He says, I'll give to you a peace that surpasses all understanding. I'll take your yoke. Here, you take mine because it's much easier. I understand that your thoughts are not my thoughts. Your ways are not my ways. I'm here to serve you. And as a reflection, we too should serve. But we got to follow his principles. We exemplify principles. And that's what we build our foundation. That's how we build our foundation. By the principles that God has given to us. By putting away pride, putting away hurt, shame, guilt, old things that is going to ruin. Because what's happening, the very thing you're trying to hide, people are discussing it. People are still talking about it. You are being denied opportunities. You are being denied that you are deserving of, that you were created for. But because you are denying yourself the proper healing that you need, it is demolishing the future that God has planned for you to be prosperous, to be successful, to be healthy, mentally stable. Get the help that you need. God says the power of life and death is in the tongue. That means release everything that's in you because it no longer belongs to you, because the things that has happened to you does not define who you are. That's not who God created you to be. I say this all the time, that humankind is the most monumental piece that God has ever created. Why? Because he has given to us dominion over the earth. He has given us the ability to maintain resources because of our intellect and because he made us fearfully. That means that we're so complex because there's so much intellect inside of us. There's so much creativity. We are innovative beings. We create with emotions. We feel things. We're not robotic. God didn't create us for anybody or anything to take away our fundamental ability to create. That's what makes the world beautiful. That's what makes the essence that lies inside of you so beautiful. Just because he created 1 million people to write a book, it doesn't exclude you from writing one, because of the essence and the nature that's inside of you will make it different. That's what sets you apart. Your intellect. God has a purpose for you. And a lot of people have not even touched the surface. We've all been living for a long time, but you have yet to touch the surface of what that is. Because a lot of us don't even have a clue of what that is, what it looks like. Number one, you got to get a divine connection with God. Number two, baby, if you are not healed, get in a place so that you can get the proper healing that you need. Because if not, it will blind you and rob you. Come and steal away from you this thing that God has inherently given unto you. Get your healing. I understand that you've been hurt. I understand that no one wants to hear. It's probably because that story has been told 1 million times. We get it. It is valid. But what about doing the work to handle and deal with those damaged parts of you? To deal with those parts that is causing you your liability to be everything that God has called you to be. You don't want to leave this earth and you haven't even touched the surface of what's connected or linked together or meshed together inside of you. Every single day of my life, I don't wake up in the best mood, or I'm happy go lucky, or I'm chipper, but I find a place to renew myself. But I'm honest in doing it. So I'll go to prayer, or I'll talk to the ears and the heart of a person I know that have my best interest. And I'll say, I'm weak today, or I'm angry today, or I don't understand this, or I'm having a breakdown. You have to learn to be honest. God's word said to come to me in spirit and in truth, because he can't heal and he can't deal with that part of you that pretend to be something that you're not. And I know not allowing any and everybody to have access to you, whether good or bad, that's good. Everybody doesn't deserve access to you. But pray, have a divine connection with God, and he will lead you to the right people. You may not know who those people are if you don't have anybody. There's so much to get for your ear to hear, for your heart to feel, that you can chime into. There are podcasts. There's so many videos on YouTube, social media, and I know it's a lot of crazy things out here on social media. It's a lot of crazy things on the internet, but there are a lot of people out here that are saying something that you can relate to. And if you have prayed a prayer, pick up your phone and say, God, send me somebody that can minister to me, to my hurt places. And in that place, God, I'm right there, God. I'm going to surrender and I'm going to forgive, because I owe that to myself. And I don't have to prove myself to anybody. I don't have to discuss anything with anybody from this point. Unless, God, you are telling me to go to someone and ask for forgiveness. Unless you are telling me to go to someone to say, open up and tell them your story. Sometimes releasing your story is a breakthrough for you, but yet you're healing somebody else. Releasing that shame and guilt is a breakthrough for yourself as well as somebody else. Then you're going to start to shed layers, and even in that, you're going to see, wow, I'm getting to know who I really am, who God really created me to be. I never knew this part of me, it existed. Some of us say we're introverts, but what if we're really not? I grew up being a shy little girl, voice muzzled. Here I am sitting before whomever watched this video. I'm speaking, I'm encouraging, and I'm poured into somebody, because this is kindled passion inside of me that wants other people to be healed, that wants other people to know the beauty that lies inside of them, underneath all of the grime, underneath all of the scars. I'm responsible for my happiness. I'm responsible for knowing that I am enough and I am adequate. I'm responsible for getting in front of this camera. When I use, the attribute of being shy, it is broken off of me. And now I was introduced to a different identity, a different version of me. And regardless of what people say or how people feel, because there are some people that will have jeering things to say. People will literally make a mockery of you, because they may have known you at a different time in your life, a different version of your life. Someone may have got the shy part of me. Someone may have got the person that doesn't like confrontation, and so I was a yes girl. But I understand that not everybody deserves access to me. I understand that I don't deserve to be walking around wounded. I don't deserve to be taken for granted. I have to take accountability for those things that I know I am deserving of. And I have to take accountability because I know those are the things that help me to build a foundation so that I can become better and better. And I can become a trailblazer like the people that came before me. And I can get in my field, and I can do the hard work, and I can do the labor, and I can plow the field, and I can sow seeds to make sure that the people that are coming behind me, that I make it easier for them. And sometimes that means admitting that you're wrong. Sometimes that means not saying anything. You don't have to entertain everything that comes for you. Every subliminal shade tree that people throw at you, every comment that people throw at you, you don't always have to entertain it. When you become wiser, you understand how to stand in the essence of who God has created you to be. I'm going to end this video because, like I said, your girl got an appointment, but I have enjoyed this conversation. I can literally go another 20 to 30 minutes. So there may be a continuation, but I hope that this video helped you to understand the hidden cost of going unhealed. It has cost you your life, and you have only lived a portion of your life, but you don't understand why does it feel unfulfilling. And so first of all, start with prayer. Start with prayer, making a divine connection with God, understanding who He is so that you can understand who you are. He's the manufacturer of you, He created you, and every fearfully and wonderfully made part there is. So, with that being said, I love you guys. Y'all go and have a blessed day because I am. I love you.